Hello everyone, welcome to another week. Here we are in beautiful central Pennsylvania, the beginning of spring here in April. There's no more beautiful time than springtime here amongst the mountains and the valleys. And especially here in the Nittany Valley. You may recognize that name, Nittany, as the local college sports team and college itself, Pennsylvania State University, uses a lion, the Nittany lion, as a basis for their mascot. Now, what is with that name, Nittany? Well, it's an interesting backstory. Some of it true, some of it not so much. But let's get into it a little bit on this windy spring day. And for me, I hope you can even hear me. You can see my beard blowing, right? It'll probably be a distraction for this story, but let's tuck that thing away and get on with the story. Wherever you're watching, on your couch, on your TV, your computer, your phone, tablet, game system, I thank you. Thank you so much. This is The Giant Rat, and let's talk about the word Nittany and the folklorist Henry Shoemaker. To understand Nittany, what that means, and where that name came from, we have to understand, first and foremost, Nit-an-nee, I think that's how you say it, I don't know. But it was a native name in the Algonquin language. And for lack of, I guess, a better way to specify it, it basically is a word for a high place, a mountain. I believe that's what it is. It's something similar to that. So has to do with some place of height, more or less. And in the case of this one, of what we know, the original name Nittany was a mountain. The Native Americans of the area, those that spoke Algonquin, named a mountain Nittany. Now, that mountain is close to here. We can't see it from the place I'm at. I would take you, I'm at lunchtime walk, my place of work. Otherwise, I'd take you to the trailhead and I'd take you to the mountain. The trailhead is only 7 minutes away from here, but I got a half an hour to do this with you. So, anyhow, the mountain and, in essence, the lion, the mountain lion that you could commonly find at one point on that mountain, that's where the name Nittany lion for Penn State University's mascot came from. All right, so we got that out of the way. That's kind of the official Nittany, the name. But how did this all get popularized? Because behind every myth, mythology, there's always a story. And to understand that, we need to talk about a man named Henry Shoemaker. That man was the United States, and more specifically Pennsylvania's, first state folklorist. There was no other state folklorist in the United States at the time when Henry Shoemaker was spinning his stories. Shoemaker was a banker. He wrote and was a publisher for a newspaper in Altoona, nearby, now about an hour away. And in central Pennsylvania, he loved to tell tales, stories. He made a lot of claims where those stories came from. Almost all of them completely untrue. And that's the trick about Henry Shoemaker. By the way, here we are on our usual walking trail, just taking our casual stroll here at lunchtime. It's a beautiful day today for sure. So Henry Shoemaker, as a folklorist, told the tales. But as with any folklore, there's always an element of truth to it. And of course, a lot of the stories that he told that were about Native Americans or things of that nature were filled with tropes, were filled with common stories that you might have heard across the country that came from Native Americans. So his story about Mount Nittany came in the form of an Indian princess, a warrior princess no less. Her name, of course, was Princess Nit-an-nee. She was beloved by her people. She was a warrior princess, often defending very bravely her people from northern raiding tribes. There's lots more to the story, but we're not really going to get into all of that today. But the gist of it is that upon her death, her people raised a tall burial mound in her honor. And the Great Spirit, sensing their love and having deep and profound respect for Princess Nit-an-nee and a love of her people, took the burial mound and raised it into a mountain. And actually, we're going to see Mount Nittany here in just a second. We'll get a little view of it, a part of it, right here. Beyond the marsh, the mountain in the distance, that is Mount Nittany. Its trailhead sitting at the foot of the mount in Lamont, a little village just about 7 minutes away from here. The Great Spirit rose the burial mound into the mountain that we just saw. The mountain, it stretches down the valley and actually has many features. Breasts, knees. It is a full mountain with very human-like features, according to the lore, the folklore. Henry Shoemaker told this story saying that an ancient native relayed this story to him. Now, of course, it's folklore. And Shoemaker was known for spinning his yarns and his tales. And to be honest with you, much later, he admitted to many of these stories, including this one, as just being folklore and not true. Now, why would he tell a story like this? Why would he do this? Well, that's where things get kind of cool, actually. Shoemaker wanted to create American legends. He wanted to create a backstory for the American experience. It was his desire to give a rich history to the country. Here is a place that I promised you would look much better in the spring. And here's a new bench. I don't know the story, but what I do know is this is a new sign. And we're starting to look really, really pretty here along Slab Cabin Run. Unfortunately, as far as observing this beauty, the move to my new work site has been delayed a little bit. You know, I always love this interpretive signage stuff. Some more 4K views from your friendly lo-fi vlogger. All right, back to Shoemaker. His intentions were good. He wanted to create an entire folklore, an American story, if you will. And here in central Pennsylvania, part of that was telling stories about beasts, trails, natives, things of that nature. And there was no one better than telling a good ghost tale than Henry Shoemaker. In the future, we'll talk a little bit more about Henry Shoemaker and some of his other folklore stories. There's a lot of them. Like I said, he was the first state folklorist in the nation. And of course, that made him the first for Pennsylvania. And out of folklore, I think sometimes we have a tendency to minimize by calling someone a folklorist. Shouldn't do that. He had a really great familiarity with history. You have to create stories like he did and create the folklore around this region. Now, as we started out talking a little bit about the Nittany lion, the story behind that is that this area was a rich habitat for the eastern mountain lion or the eastern panther. This species is now extinct. It was hunted to extinction by the people that inhabit largely Appalachia. But at Penn State University, there is a taxidermied eastern mountain lion. In fact, there is a bit of disputed folklore in regard to where the last eastern panther was killed, at least in regards to Pennsylvania. Local folklore indicates that in a place among the Seven Mountains, currently called Panther Hollow, the final eastern panther was taken sometime post 1900. The State Game Commission disputes that and has record of the final eastern panther being taken at a different time in a different place. And I'm not sure where. I think it might have been near Allentown or somewhere in eastern PA. It's hard to tell what the truth is. Chances are there were plenty of wolves and panthers that were taken in the rugged mountains here in the frontier. And I gotta be honest with you, there were areas here in central Pennsylvania that still felt like the frontier when I was just a young kid. So I can only imagine in the early 1900s what much of this area was like, particularly in the mountains. As I said, we'll learn more about Shoemaker at a later date. In the meantime, I thought this was a little interesting story for a Tuesday. I hope your week goes great. I hope it's going great so far. We will see you on Thursday. Dreams, grass, and churros. We'll see ya.